Good. Visuals good. Two bald men looking good. I guess you could hit record. It's recording? All right. You know what? I'm going to put the jeans down. Okay. So today we're going to start with like a fundamental kind of overview of the important masculine values and qualities, and we'll get into like what honest signals are, just you know, to lay a general foundation that we're going to build on over the course of the next few days. So, you know, think of it as something that will help you work on your inner game, or towards having like rock solid inner game. These are like the foundational kind of principles. So let's first start talking about value. So there are like two main ways that you could influence people, and one is through like power and tyranny, and another is through just having good value. Don't confuse that with like values. That's something else. But essentially, like, you encompassing a certain aura, a certain set of qualities that just in its own nature influences people in a positive way. And we'll get into like all the different ways that that you can do that and how that can be manifested. But I think it's fair to agree that influencing people through power and tyranny is never a safe long-term solution. Whether it's politically or, you know, if you're like, whether it's with friends, or anything of that nature, it's always better to do it, to influence people in a way where they just like want to be around you because you're charming, because you're relatable, because you're nice, because you're, I don't know, ambitious, positive, that kind of stuff, confident, right? Now, value essentially breaks down into two broad categories: sexual value and social value. And I don't know, for the sake of, you know, making this more digestible or easier to kind of wrap your mind around, let's assume that sexual value has a stronger weighting. And let's assume that that weighting is 70-30. Okay, whether it's 60-40 or 70-30, it's really impossible to gauge, because not only do the two categories have their own respective weightings, but then the micro categories underneath have their own weightings, and we'll get into that. And it's not really important to know exactly what is the weighting of each, but let's just say sexual value is more important than social value, right? And we'll get into what that is in a second. So you've got sexual value and social value, and then you've got honest signals, which are the manifestation of your sexual and social value. And we'll talk about that last. And then we'll sum it up by summarizing what game is. What is game? Okay. First, let's talk about sexual value. Sexual value is essentially captures the core masculine qualities that are, I guess, timeless. The manifestation of these core masculine qualities has changed over the centuries and years, but at the core they remain the same. So let's quickly list them, and then maybe we'll get into them in more detail. Core confidence, leadership, resourcefulness, dominance, assertiveness, groundedness in a sense of being at ease, self-sufficiency, independence and freedom, and a sense of abundance. So before we get into, the specifics of these qualities, how this was manifested, let's say, in Spartan times or Roman times might be different than how it was done in medieval times, might be different than how it was done during the Renaissance, during the 19th century, during the 40s and 50s, and how it is now. But at the core, confidence was always confidence. Whether you're going to go and duel it out in the 19th century with, what are they called? Not swords. What's that called? What's that called? Not a sword?
Katana.
No, not a katana. You're a katana. Uh-huh.
Made of wood, those ones?
Sabers.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Sabers or something like that.
Scimitar?
What? Okay. So whether it was that or whether it was, a fight in the rink, or whether it was like surviving in the woods, or whether it was making your way in the 1920s as a businessman in the U.S., as an immigrant, whatever. The same kind of qualities at their core are true, right? Now, let's start with core confidence, because essentially core confidence is what I think everything is an extension of core confidence. And you'll see how all these qualities work together as we go through them. But let's talk about core confidence versus what? Versus situational confidence? What do you think is the difference?
Situational confidence, where you have experience in the situation, which is why you'd be confident in that situation.
Right. If you're exactly. If you're competent in a certain area, usually a lot of people's confidence comes from competence.
Right.
So yeah, if you're good at, IT, or you're knowledgeable about the fitness business like yourself, you might speak and act with more confidence when you're at the gym or when you're speaking about certain topics. But take you out of that element and suddenly you'll lose your confidence. You don't have that support system, I guess, or the support of the confidence, of the competence, sorry. Now, what is core confidence? Core confidence is essentially knowing deep down that no matter what life throws at you, you can kind of figure it out, that you have trust in yourself. Arnold Schwarzenegger talks about this in his 6 Rules of Success. You should watch the YouTube video if you haven't seen it. I think rule number 1, trust yourself, right? So your ability to trust yourself to figure things out in less than optimal circumstances or less than ideal circumstances, and gaining many reference experiences in those kind of situations is what's going to build that core confidence. It's like knowing, oh shit, I've dealt with some shit like this before, with a tough situation that tested me, that challenged me. There was pressure, there was judgment, there was fear, there was rejection, and I managed to overcome it. So now I know that I might be okay in this next situation. Okay, and your core confidence is also, it's not only the micro situations, it's also I guess it's going to spill over from like different disciplines and areas of your life. If you had some challenges in your business that you overcame and went through an emotional roller coaster, that might spill over into your pickup journey where you're like, fuck, this is tough. The girls are scary, blah, blah, blah. The nightclub is overwhelming. So it's kind of feeling at home in scary, I don't want to say scary or unknown situations, not getting scared by them, okay? So that's core confidence. There's no shortcut to developing it, right? You have to kind of throw yourself in a lot of these situations to really grow that thick skin, right? There's something else I want to talk about in situational confidence. Yeah, a lot of people's situational confidence also comes not just from the competence, but from the status that they enjoy in a certain area. Like if you're a lawyer, you're a partner at a firm. Of course, that comes with competence, but also because you enjoy a certain status, you're going to be perceived differently. You're going to, walk with a certain air of confidence. Okay, so that's that. Next is leadership. And now again, you'll see how all of these kind of work together. So leadership. What does it mean to be a good leader? It's a very important masculine quality. It means to be decisive. It means to be able to make decisions, kind of like what we said, in less than optimal circumstances. Make decisions, stick through them, take responsibility for the decisions, or for the outcome of the situations. And to be empathetic, to empathize with the people around you. Because when you're managing people, when you're leading people, you need to be in tune with how people are feeling, thinking. And this can manifest itself in so many ways, whether you're managing a company, whether you're leading a group of friends to grab food. It's like, what do you want to eat? What do you want to eat? I don't know, what do you want to eat? Listen, guys, I know this really good Thai place. It's around the corner. I'm making a decision, executive decision. Let's go, right? Seemingly such a simple thing to just decide we're going to go to this restaurant, but a lot of people can't make those kind of decisions and can't lead people. They like to delegate those kind of decisions to someone else. I mean, there's something comforting, obviously, about not making decisions, because decisions are scary. Decisions require brain power, require, emotional investment and turmoil. So there is something nice about it, but at the same time, it's so empowering being able to make decisions, especially when you're making it for other people. So it could also manifest itself when you are taking a girl's hand and moving her to the bar, or even just moving her from here to here. Sometimes you'll be like, you know what, can you just move out of the way? Get her out of the way as there are people walking through. And, she'll just, we'll talk about compliance more, but it's such a small thing and you're kind of sucking her in with your energy, with your influential energy. When the frame is strong, it's a very powerful thing. Or it can be like you grabbing her hand and crossing the street and saying, let's get into a cab. I'm saying, you know what, we're going to go to this other party, right? All forms of leadership. Okay, next, being resourceful. So it's not so much the resources that matter that you have, but it's your resourcefulness. It's your ability to get shit done. It's your ability to be a closer, to be proactive, to take initiative. Okay. Okay, next. Does that make sense? Let me know, by the way, if there are any questions. Dominance. What is dominance? And this goes hand in hand with assertiveness. Dominance is essentially your control and comfort with the space or in the space around you. So whether you are sitting down and taking up space on the chair, right, instead of kind of sitting like this, it's like, you know what, I'm going to dominate my space. Whether you project your voice and talk confidently about a certain topic, right? So you're kind of dominating the conversation, or it doesn't have to be in a bad way where you're just cutting people off and coming off as insecure, but just contributing in a dominant fashion, whether it's holding the girl that you're with by the hand and kind of taking control of a situation, or if there's some kind of chaos, telling people listen. So you see how it works with leadership as well, and confidence, taking control of a situation, saying, all right, look guys, like don't worry, we'll figure this out. So that plays into assertiveness, and that is to communicate and act on what you feel is right or what you want out of life. Knowing what you want, knowing how to ask for it, knowing how to get it, right? Setting boundaries. It's like, even as simple as, you know, your buddy wants you to go out tonight and you have an exam tomorrow. Like some people are just like too scared to say no. They can't just be like, listen, man, I got an exam tomorrow. No, I'm not going. Especially when your friend or maybe like an acquaintance that you're not as comfortable with might be like, come on, man, like you're always studying, dude. Like, come on, dude, you're blah, 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 blah. And he starts kind of like putting the pressure on, because not even because he's a bad person, but because he just wants somebody to go out with, right? And you're kind of like, oh, dude. And you don't, like sometimes you'll get sucked in, or sometimes you'll just like end up wasting a lot of time on the phone and just like skirting around the issue instead of being like, nah, bro, I can't do it, right? So knowing how to say no, knowing how to set a boundary, knowing how to ask for something or like go for something in an assertive manner, like for a phone number, girl's phone number. Like, listen, you seem cool, I like you, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. Not, oh, so like, do you think it would be okay if I got your number, right? That's not very assertive. Now you don't wanna overdo it to the point of like coming off as obnoxious or unempathetic or whatever. We'll get into all those mechanics and nuances, but here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna grab your number and we'll go for ramen noodles this week. Blah, blah, blah. I'll text you. Okay? So next, being grounded and at ease. So developing this kind of sense. Does that make sense when maybe some people don't know what grounded means? Like being grounded, being kind of at ease, essentially like being very like rooted, right? Like someone who's just kind of calm and control. Where does that come from? From having a deeply rooted sense of reality, right? So think about it. Let's imagine a situation where you know something is true. Like you absolutely know something is true. Okay? Like it's going to be warm out today. It's going to be warm and nice out today. I don't know if this is the best analogy, but let's go with it for a second. It's going to be warm and nice out today, and no, I don't like where this analogy is going.
Thinking of maybe it's like maybe when a girl tries to test you, or maybe if someone around you is more emotional and.
Well, I'm going to tie it into like this in terms of how it works in social dynamics. We'll come back to the analogy, but essentially, when you really know something is true, okay, you're kind of at ease about the situation, right? Like, yeah, this is a good example. What do you know about this room? What do you know about this whole situation right now? You know that you are in Canada. You know that you are in Toronto, right? You know you traveled here and why you traveled here. You know that I'm, I don't know, let's call it a public figure who teaches this. You're here for this boot camp. You know, Marcus is assisting with the camera. You know what the weather's like. You have this pretty strong grasp of these elements around you, right? And you feel pretty confident about them, right? Like there's nothing right now that's a threat. There's nothing right now that's like, oh my God, like, I don't know what to expect. I don't know how to handle this. I mean, yeah, obviously like the boot camp itself will be kind of like Will be kind of stressful probably, slash exciting, slash, so it'll be an emotional roller coaster. But I'm talking about the room itself right now, your current situation. So because you know these things and you have this kind of conviction about what's going on around you, you're kind of like, grounded. If I was like, dude, the walls are like closing in. Dude, like, I don't know, there might be a nuclear attack or something happening. You're like, nah, man, what do you mean the walls are closing in? This house looks pretty stable. Why would there be a nuclear attack? So now let's tie this into like a social landscape, right? Having a deeply rooted sense of reality. It's easy to have kind of conviction in these elements around you, right? The house is built well. You know that you live in Toronto in Canada, which is a pretty stable country. You have strong conviction about this. Now, the more you go through life and the stronger your reality becomes about what you think is true, what you value, the confidence you have in yourself, the confidence you have in a certain process, okay? You having a confidence in your understanding of how things work, what you believe in, what's important, what's not important, etc. The stronger that reality is, the more rooted you're going to be in social or in novel, unknown situations. You're not going to be as easily shaken up by external forces. That's essentially what it means. And so you're going to be calm and at ease, right? When I was first starting going out at night, or even during the day, I didn't really understand like what's important, what I value, what my worth is, how people are, et cetera, et cetera. And so as a result, someone's opinion carried a lot of weight and could like easily, how they talk about like, I don't know if you've heard this, the idea of like being reactive. Like, I said something like, dude, that shirt's really ugly.
Oh, then I go change my shirt.
Right, and then like, let's say you maybe like get hurt about it, or like you're like, dude, like look at your shirt, man. Like it got to you. My comment got to you. What does that say about your sense of self? What does it say about the strength of your reality? If you're letting somebody's comment, maybe it's a playful comment, maybe it's a vindictive comment, like maybe somebody really like doesn't like your shirt and wants to put you down, right? But what does it say about you if you let that get to you? Right? Do you have a weak sense of reality, or a weak frame, right? The frame is the window through which we see the world. You can say frame, you can say lens, right? So the more shit you go through in life, the more shit you deal with, the stronger your sense of reality is going to be. So you'll be rooted. You won't be like a bag in the wind, just getting blown around by external forces. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right. And as a result, you'll be more at ease. Like right now, when I'm like in a nighttime environment, I'm like super at ease because I know exactly how all the elements around me work. Okay. Self-sufficiency. This is the next one. So what is self-sufficiency? Well, it's essentially your ability to self-sustain yourself, to rely on yourself to get shit done. Again, notice how it ties in with everything else, right? You don't necessarily need anyone. I mean, obviously, we live in a society where everything is kind of interconnected, and we do rely on other people, but you don't necessarily need anyone to take initiative, right? You don't necessarily need anyone to generate good emotions. You on your own can generate good emotions. You on your own can make things happen to entertain yourself, to push your own buttons, to be positive. You don't need someone to be like, hey man, have fun, be positive, go approach that girl, right? A good wing, actually, is someone who is self-sufficient, right? It's someone who can go and like, talk to other people and open some girls, and then he'll bring you into a set and you're doing the same thing. It's not someone who's kind of like leeching onto you and wanting you to do all the work, right? Someone who doesn't really need you, right? That's a good wing. Okay, so that's self-sufficiency, right? Or it's like you want to go to some art gallery, you go on your own if nobody else wants to come. Someone wants to come, it's bonus, all right? Next one is independence and freedom, okay? And again, that ties in with self-sufficiency. So it means to be unstifled, it means to be uninhibited, but it also means taking responsibility for your life. What is freedom? Freedom is, the immediate short-term ability to like do whatever you want. Like right now, if you want to, run naked through the street, technically you can. But more importantly, it's like the ability to carve out whatever path you want in life, and that essentially means taking responsibility for what that path entails. So you want to get good with girls, as opposed to, rely on the people you work with, on meeting women through the people you work with. You want that freedom? All right, well, take responsibility and earn that freedom, right? You want to be an entrepreneur, like, with your fitness business or the massage stuff? All right, by all means, earn it, right? Take the responsibility. So why do people, Freud said most people don't want to be free. That's why most people work in corporate jobs. They want someone to protect them. Most people want to meet people through social circles. They want the social circle to provide for them, right? Like on some level, we do need, there's a part of us that does need, a sense of kind of community and protection and identity and safety. Because freedom is kind of a scary thing to really be free. But yeah, it's the responsibility that most people fear. And the moment you start seeing everything as you taking responsibility for your life, you'll see how everything will start to change. Make sense? Okay. And the last one is abundance. So, or a sense of abundance, or the mindset of abundance. And that's essentially, think of it as knowing deep down that there will always be more, if that makes sense. There will always be more, as opposed to like a scarcity-based mindset where you're always thinking, there won't be more. I have to like hang on to this, I don't know. I'm trying to save $1 on gas. I'm trying to, I don't know. I won't pay for my friend when we're out for dinner. Paying for girls is like a separate topic. But let's say they're like worried about like paying for a girl, and we can discuss the nuances of that. Or just worrying that they're missing out on small things. It's like, oh, I missed this concert or this thing. It's like an obsessing over these like little things that they're trying to like hang on to, as opposed to thinking there will be more concerts. I will make more money. I'm not trying to save, I'm not saying be reckless and irresponsible with your money. That's not what I'm saying. But don't obsess over these things. Instead, say, how can I make more? How can I bring more value? How can I make more? I will meet more people. I will 20s to invest in their independence. And it's not, a lot of people see it as, they see it as a cost. They see it as a loss or an expense. Instead, you need to see it as an investment. You are investing into your independence. You're investing into developing like a different kind of headspace, right? Into your self-sufficiency, into your ability to make decisions. Suddenly, your whole perspective changes. You don't have the comfort and the influence of the people around you. And sometimes it's positive influence, sometimes it's a negative influence, And you're forced to kind of carve your own fucking path out. And what's interesting is you start to like take bigger risks. You start to face certain fears. Maybe before it was scary for you to fucking, I don't know, cook. Okay. And now suddenly you're like going to the grocery store and making decisions, you're cooking, right? It might seem like a minor thing maybe to some people, but like for some it's kind of like a big deal. Or like, shit, now I have to hook up my internet, right? Or think of getting home insurance. So yeah, it puts you into a different headspace. Okay.